Let me tell you something most women never hear out loud. You don't make a man miss you by chasing him. You don't make him miss you by explaining your value. And you definitely don't make him miss you by staying where you're not appreciated. A man misses what he earned, not what was handed to him. See, women are taught to give more, love harder, stay longer, and prove loyalty. But men don't fall deeper. Because of what you give, they fall deeper. Because of what they almost lost. When you are always available, always forgiving, always explaining yourself, you remove the one thing that awakens a man's heart, the fear of absence. Men are wired to pursue purpose. Women are wired to nurture. But when a woman forgets herself trying to keep a man, she quietly teaches him that she will always be there, no matter how little effort he gives. And that's when he stops valuing her presence. The truth is, the strongest power a woman has is not silence meant to punish its distance rooted in self-respect. When you stop reacting, when you stop begging, when you stop overgiving, that's when a man's mind gets loud. He starts replaying your laughter, your support, your energy, your peace, because peace is rare. And men don't realize its value until chaos replaces it. You don't make him cry missing you by being cold. You make him cry missing you by being complete without him. Let me tell you something most women are never taught. Something that changes everything once you understand it. You don't make a man miss you by holding on tighter. You don't make him miss you by explaining your worth, proving your loyalty, or staying when you're hurting. A man does not miss what is always available. He misses what he had to earn, what required effort, intention, and consistency. When something comes too easily, the human mind, especially a man's mind, stops protecting it. Many women believe that love means sacrifice without limits. They think that giving more will make him stay, that patience will eventually be rewarded, that understanding his flaws will make him choose them. But what actually happens is the opposite. When you give endlessly without boundaries, you teach him that your presence is guaranteed. Then when something is guaranteed, it stops being valued. Men are built to pursue, not just women, but goals, purpose, achievement. Effort is how they measure value. When a man has to show up, be consistent, and rise to a standard, he becomes emotionally invested. When he doesn't have to try, his emotions stay shallow. That's why chasing a man never works. You think you're showing love, but what you're really doing is removing the very thing that would have made him attach. The mistake most women make is confusing love with availability. They answer every call, forgive every disrespect, stay through every disappointment. They believe loyalty means endurance, but endurance without self-respect turns into emotional invisibility. He gets used to you being there, not because he values you deeply, but because he expects you to stay no matter what he does. A man doesn't feel the weight of your absence until you stop filling the space, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop reacting to inconsistency, when you stop giving energy to someone who gives you confusion. That silence isn't about punishment. It's about choosing yourself. And that choice is what changes everything. Once you step back, his mind gets loud. Men process loss differently than women. Women feel it immediately. Men feel it when the routine breaks, when the calls stop, when the support is gone, when the peace you brought into his life disappears. He starts remembering things he took for granted, your voice, your presence, the way you believed in him when he doubted himself, the call you brought when the world was heavy. Peace is rare, and most men don't realize how rare it is until it's gone. They don't miss chaos. They miss stability. They miss someone who made life lighter. And when that disappears, it creates a quiet regret that grows over time. You don't need to be cold to make a man miss you. You don't need to play games or pretend you don't care. What makes a man miss you is seeing that you are whole without him, that your life continues. that your happiness doesn't depend on his attention, that your value doesn't shrink because he failed to see it. A woman who knows her worth doesn't argue about it. She doesn't beg for effort. She doesn't negotiate respect. She simply removes herself from situations that no longer honor her. And that kind of strength is unforgettable. It forces reflection. It forces comparison. Because once he meets someone else, he realizes not every woman brings depth, loyalty, and peace. Most women think staying proves love. In reality, knowing when to walk away proves self-worth. And self-worth is what creates lasting impact. A man may forget words, but he never forgets the woman who chose dignity over desperation. He never forgets the moment he realized she was no longer available to be taken for granted. When you stop chasing, stop overgiving, and stop shrinking yourself to be chosen, you shift the power. Not because you want control, but because you finally choose yourself. And whether he comes back or not, you win. Because a woman who values herself never truly loses. Most women are never told this truth. And because they don't hear it, they repeat the same pattern over and over again. They believe that if they love harder, stay quieter, and tolerate more, a man will eventually see their value. They believe consistency on their part will inspire consistency from him. But love does not work that way. A man does not become emotionally attached because a woman suffers for him. He becomes attached when he realizes he could lose her. When a woman gives too much too soon, she unknowingly removes the mystery that fuels desire. She answers every call, rearranges her life, forgives repeated disappointment, and calls it love. What she's really doing is teaching him that her presence is permanent. And when something feels permanent, it no longer feels precious. The human mind doesn't protect what it believes it will always have. Men are driven by effort and challenge. This doesn't mean they want games or manipulation, but they do respond to standards. A man invests where he feels required to rise. When there are no standards, no boundaries, no consequences for inconsistency, his emotional investment stays low, not because he is evil, but because he has not been challenged to value more. Many women fear distance because they think it means abandonment. They stay even when they feel unseen because they are afraid that leaving will make him forget them. But distance, when it comes from self-respect, does the opposite. It forces awareness. It creates space for reflection. It interrupts comfort. And comfort is the enemy of appreciation. A man rarely realizes what he had while he has it. He realizes it when it's no longer there to cushion his life, when the emotional labor disappears, when the encouragement stops, when the woman who once made everything easier chooses herself instead. That absence creates a silence that speaks louder than any argument ever could. Women often express their pain through words. They explain, complain, and hope to be understood. Men often respond to actions more than explanation. When you stop explaining your worth and start protecting it, the message becomes clear without you saying a word. Silence paired with dignity forces a man to sit with his own behavior. The woman who becomes unforgettable is not the one who stays through everything. It's the one who knew when enough was enough. The one who loved deeply but refused to abandon herself. That balance of warmth and strength leaves a lasting impression because it is rare. Men miss the woman who brought peace, not the one who brought pressure. They miss the one who supported their dreams without trying to control them. They miss the one who believed in them but did not make them her entire world. When that kind of woman leaves, she leaves a space that is difficult to fill. You don't make a man miss you by chasing him emotionally. You make him miss you by no longer being available for less than you deserve. When he sees that your life continues, that your joy is intact, that your growth didn't stop without him, something shifts in his mind. He starts questioning his choices. He starts comparing what he lost to what he has now. Most women think power in relationships comes from holding on. Real power comes from knowing. You will be okay if you let go. That confidence changes how you move, how you speak, and what you tolerate. And a man can feel that energy even from a distance. When you choose self-respect over fear, you stop chasing validation and start attracting it. Whether he returns or not becomes secondary. What matters is that you no longer shrink yourself for love. And that is what truly makes a woman unforgettable. There is a truth that most women never learn until they are emotionally exhausted. And by the time they understand it, they have already given too much of themselves to someone who did not deserve that level of access. Women are taught that love means patience, sacrifice, and understanding, but they are rarely taught that love without boundaries slowly turns into self-betrayal. A man does not feel deeper attachment because a woman stays through disrespect. He feels attachment when he realizes her presence was not guaranteed. Many women believe that consistency on their part will eventually inspire consistency from him. They stay loyal in confusion, calm in chaos, and quiet in disappointment. They think that if they endure long enough, he will finally see what he has. But endurance alone does not create value. Effort does. And effort only comes when there is something to lose. Where a woman is always available, she becomes predictable. Predictability creates comfort, but comfort without appreciation turns into neglect. The mind begins to assume that what is always there will remain there. That assumption is dangerous because it removes urgency. A man who feels no urgency has no reason to change, grow, or show up differently. Men are not moved by words the way women are. A woman may explain her pain, hoping to be understood, but a man understands consequences more than conversation. When nothing changes after his inconsistency, he learns that inconsistency is acceptable. When a woman continues to stay, he learns that her boundaries are flexible. Over time, he stops seeing her strength and only sees her availability. Distance is often misunderstood. Many women think stepping back means losing him forever. In reality, stepping back reveals the truth. If he values you, he will feel the shift immediately. If he doesn't, nothing you could have done would have changed the outcome anyway. Distance removes illusions and exposes intentions. When a woman finally stops overgiving, something powerful happens. The emotional noise disappears. There are no more arguments, no more reminders, no more begging to be chosen. That silence forces a man to confront himself. He begins to notice the absence of the woman who once made his life easier. He realizes that the emotional support he relied on is no longer available. Men don't miss words. They miss experiences. They miss how a woman made them feel. The safety, the encouragement, the calm. When that disappears, it creates an emotional vacuum. And that vacuum often fills with regret. He starts replaying moments he ignored, conversations he brushed off, chances he wasted. A woman who chooses herself does not do it out of bitterness. She does it out of clarity. She understands that love should not require her to shrink, silence herself, or tolerate emotional neglect. That decision to walk away with dignity leaves a deeper mark than any emotional outburst ever could. Most women think leaving means losing. In truth, staying where you are undervalued is the real loss. When a woman leaves with her self-respect intact, she takes something irreplaceable with her. Her energy, her care, her belief in him. And once those are gone, they cannot be recreated by someone else. What makes a man truly miss a woman is not manipulation or emotional games. It is the realization that she was rare, that she loved deeply but knew her limits, that she brought peace, not chaos, that she chose growth over attachment. And once that understanding settles in, it lingers far longer than he ever expected. Most women grow up believing that love is proven through endurance. They are taught directly or indirectly. That staying through confusion, disrespect, and emotional distance is a sign of loyalty. So when a man pulls away, they lean in harder. They communicate more, explain more, give more. They believe that if they just show him how much they care, he will finally meet them at the same level. What they don't realize is that this instinct, though well-intentioned, often produces the opposite result. When a woman consistently overextends herself, she slowly erases the sense of value attached to her presence, not because she lacks worth, but because worth must be recognized to be felt. A man does not feel the weight of something that is always available. He feels the weight of absence. He feels value when effort is required to maintain access. Without that requirement, emotional investment stays shallow. Many men don't intentionally take women for granted. It happens gradually. One forgiven disappointment becomes two. One ignored boundary becomes a pattern. Over time, the man unconsciously learns that he can show up halfway and still receive full devotion. The relationship becomes unbalanced, and the woman begins to feel invisible, even though she is giving everything she has. Women often believe that talking more will fix this imbalance. They express their feelings, hoping clarity will create change. But while communication is important, it loses power when it is not supported by action. When a man hears the same concerns repeatedly without consequences, the words begin to lose meaning. What changes behavior is not repeated explanation, but a shift in access. Distance, when chosen from self-respect, is not cruelty. It is clarity. It interrupts patterns that no longer serve you. When a woman steps back, stops chasing, and redirects her energy toward herself, the emotional dynamic changes. The man is no longer being carried by her effort. He must now confront the space she once filled. This is when realization often begins. He notices the absence of her emotional labor. The encouragement that once came effortlessly is gone. The patience that once absorbed his inconsistencies is no longer available. Life feels heavier. Not because she created chaos, but because she removed the peace she provided. Men tend to recognize value through loss. Not immediately, but gradually. At first, there is comfort in freedom. Then there is confusion. Then there is reflection. He starts thinking about the woman who stood by him, who believed in him, who asked for little but deserved much. And he realizes that what he lost was not ordinary. A woman who leaves with dignity leaves a lasting imprint. She does not leave screaming or begging. She leaves quietly, choosing her self-respect over her fear. That quiet strength is unsettling because it forces a man to sit with his own action. There is no drama to blame, no chaos to justify his behavior. There is only the truth. What makes a man miss a woman deeply is not her tears, but her absence. Not her explanations, but her boundaries. When he sees that her life continues, that she did not collapse without him, that she chose growth instead of waiting, the realization cuts deeper. He understands that she was not dependent on him. She chose him. And now she has chosen herself. Most women believe they lose when they walk away. In reality, walking away from emotional neglect is a return to self. And that choice, more than anything else, is what makes a woman unforgettable. Many women are taught to believe that love is something they must earn by being understanding, patient, and endlessly forgiving. From a young age, they learn that if they are good enough, soft enough, or supportive enough, a man will eventually recognize their value and commit fully. So when effort becomes inconsistent, they don't pull back, they give more. They stay longer, speak gentler, and tolerate behaviors that slowly drain them. What they don't realize is that love does not grow through self-erasure. When a woman gives without limits, she unintentionally teaches a man how to treat her. Not through words, but through patterns. Each time she accepts less than she deserves, she normalizes it. Each time she stays silent to keep the peace, She signals that her needs are optional. Over time, the relationship becomes built on her endurance rather than mutual effort. And endurance, while admirable, does not create emotional depth. Men attach emotionally through investment. Effort creates ownership. When a man has to show up consistently, prioritize, and protect a connection, his emotions become tied to it. But when a woman makes herself endlessly available, that sense of investment weakens. He may enjoy her presence, but he does not fear losing it. And without the fear of loss, appreciation fades. Many women think that leaving or stepping back will make a man forget them. In reality, staying while being undervalued is what makes a woman invisible. Presence without boundaries becomes background noise. A man gets used to her being there, not because he cherishes her, but because he expects her. That expectation is what dulls desire and respect. When a woman finally chooses to stop chasing, something shifts internally and externally. She stops over-explaining her feelings. She stops reminding him of her worth. She redirects her energy toward herself, her growth, her peace. This change is often quiet, but its impact is loud. The emotional support he relied on disappears, and he is left to feel the absence. Men process loss differently than women. Women feel it immediately, emotionally. Men feel it later, mentally. They feel it when routines break, when silence replaces constant communication, when the woman who once made life easier is no longer present. That absence creates reflection. He starts remembering what he dismissed: the patience, the loyalty, the way she believed in him. A woman who leaves with dignity leaves a deeper mark than one who stays in pain. There is no anger to dismiss, no desperation to justify ignoring her. There is only the reality that she chose herself. That choice forces a man to confront the possibility that he underestimated her value. What truly makes a man miss a woman is not manipulation, jealousy, or emotional games. It is the realization that she was rare, that she loved deeply, but did not abandon herself, that she brought peace, not pressure. When that realization sets in, it lingers. Most women believe love means holding on no matter the cost. Real love, however, begins with self-respect. And when a woman chooses self-respect, she becomes unforgettable, not because she tried to be missed, but because she refused to be diminished. Many women fail to understand this fundamental truth. Your power in a relationship does not come from how much you give, how long you stay, or how much you sacrifice. Your power comes from knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less. Too many women believe that love is measured by endurance, by patience, or by tolerance. They stay when they are disrespected, excuse repeated mistakes, and overextend themselves emotionally. They confuse attention for love, forgiveness for commitment, and presence for appreciation. But no amount of giving will make a man respect or miss what he does not value. Amends. Attachment grows through effort, challenge, and recognition. He invests emotionally when he knows that connection is not guaranteed. When a woman is always available, always forgiving, and always accommodating, she removes the very things that make him value her. He may enjoy her presence, but he does not feel the depth of attachment that comes from earning it. Emotional investment requires effort, and effort requires boundaries. Without boundaries, there is no reason to try harder, and appreciation fades. Women often think that love is proven through availability. They answer every call, forgive every mistake, and continually bend to keep the relationship alive. But in doing so, they inadvertently teach a man that he can take their presence for granted. They provide constant reassurance, hoping that consistency will eventually inspire reciprocity. The truth is, consistency from one side without effort from the other never breeds respect. It breeds complacency. Distance is often misunderstood as punishment. Many women fear stepping back because they worry it will make him forget them. or drift away. But distance is not about punishment. It is about clarity. It is about creating a space where absence speaks louder than words ever could. When a woman stops chasing, stops over-explaining, and stops over-giving, she allows him to confront the reality of his choices. The emotional labor she once provided disappears, and suddenly he feels what he had taken for granted. Men rarely realize the value of a woman until she stops being the constant. They notice the absence of her care, the silence where support used to be, and the calm that is no longer offered. That absence creates reflection. He starts thinking about her laughter, her encouragement, the stability she brought to his life. What he ignored in the moment begins to matter in memory. The realization often comes slowly, but when it does, it is powerful. A woman who chooses herself over desperation leaves a lasting impression. She does not leave in anger or bitterness, nor does she plead to be noticed. She leaves quietly, firmly, with dignity. That choice forces a man to reckon with the fact that he underestimated her value. He realizes that she loved fully but never abandoned her own self-respect. That combination of love and strength is unforgettable because it is rare. Most women believe that leaving or stepping back is a loss. In reality, staying where you are undervalued is the true loss. Walking away with dignity and self-respect is not rejection, it is empowerment. It teaches a man what he had only when it is gone. A love that remains after self-respect is unwavering, unshakable, and impossible to replace. That is what makes a man truly miss a woman. Not games, not manipulation, but the quiet, undeniable power of a woman who knows her worth and refuses to settle for less.